day and enjoying the first part of their summer. Um, to start with a historical note, I'll note that it's the 75th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War. Um, so just wanted to let that get remarked as well as we think about the journey of the last 250 years. So having called it to order, our next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I would ask all to please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mindy, if you don't mind calling the roll. I think you're on mute, Mindy.
Yep. Christopher Kolakowski.
I am here.
Christian Overland.
Present.
Joe Nylands. Senator Cabral Caveira. Senator Teston. Senator Bewley. Representative Hurd. Representative Ruwink. Zach Madden. Judge Koshnick. Thought he was on. Julia Hurdle.
Yeah, Judge Koshnick is here. Yeah.
Okay. Shannon Holsey.
Here.
Gina Selby.
Here.
Saw Gina. Robert Hagland.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. So before we get into some of the things that the business items that we have as well, we're actually joined by, we have a 2-for-1 deal today. We've got actually joined by 2 commissioners, two of our state partner commissions. We have representatives from Utah, we have representatives from Colorado. And if, by the way, if you're not speaking, if you wouldn't mind muting, that would be wonderful. So that way we avoid that feedback. So I'm going to turn it over first to Jason Hansen, who is the Chief Creative Officer for History Colorado. And is just doing some absolutely outstanding work out in the Centennial State. And I actually got to know Jason back in 2023. We happened to be seated at the same table for dinner at the first Williamsburg Summit. And I've just been very impressed with the energy and the creativity that he and the folks are bringing out there in the Centennial State. And so I wanted him to take as much time as he wanted to talk about what they've got going on out there. And as you can tell, it's both the two, because there's the Centennial State, they're also celebrating their 150th birthday in 2026 as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason and say, welcome virtually to Wisconsin, and let you take it away. And you're on mute, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry, I am struggling with some tech problems, so now I am on 2 devices, but I hope you can see and hear me. I do have a couple of slides that I wanted to share. If I'm able, is there a screen sharing option?
Yes, you should be able to share on your upper right corner.
I see it. All right. Okay, I promise not to bore you all with a whole bunch of slides, but I do think a few will be helpful. All right, looks like that's coming through. So thank you again for the introduction. I got to be in Wisconsin for the first time since I was a kid, just a few months ago, thanks to an invitation from Christian, and really enjoyed it and very glad to be here. I think there's a lot of similarities between what you all are doing in a lot of ways there and what we are doing in Colorado. And so I hope sharing a little bit about what we're doing in Colorado and then leaving some time for discussion will be helpful. So we, like you, have a big commemoration ahead of us, but we actually have two because, as Chris mentioned, it's the centennial state here in Colorado, and that means we are celebrating our 150th anniversary of statehood when the 250th anniversary of our nation rolls around. The 250 is called the semi-quincentennial, 150 is called the sesquicentennial. So around here, we like to say we are observing our sesquisemiquincentennial, and we are slowly teaching people how to say that. This is the piece I really wanted to jump to. How are we doing this? So we have a commission structure similar to you. It is a mix of people representing different state agencies and governor's appointees and the two landed tribes within Colorado, as well as tribal communities that have historic ties to Colorado. We are 21 people. That is a pretty big commission. It can be pretty unwieldy at times, but it is also only 21 people. And so we have a strategy that involves crafting a series of signature initiatives. You can see here, these are intended to be statewide. They're intended to be activities or ways for anyone who wants to participate in the twin anniversaries we have here to be able to do so. But this is just a tiny slice of what we hope and anticipate will be the full experience in the summer of 2026 for most Coloradans. So I'm going to run through these quickly, but then I'm going to talk about how the commission is working really to unleash local activity and why we think that's the key to success. So we are doing things like creating a passport program. We want people to get out with their families and friends and go see those places in Colorado that they've always meant to go to, but maybe haven't had quite enough of a startup energy to get to. We've brought on some partners who are promising fabulous prizes for people who are able to check in at a certain number of sites to give a little carrot to them. We are doing an oral history project with at least 150 Coloradans around the state with the goal that collectively a portrait of who Coloradans are will emerge for the anniversary year. We have a couple of museum exhibitions, three that we are doing here at the History Colorado Center, one that we are creating that is going to be shareable. I say shareable, not traveling, because for an anniversary, everyone wants it at the same time. So this is, we're developing it to be print on demand. We're actually working with a coalition of my counterparts in other states in the West to create this exhibition so that it is available throughout the region in ways and takes an approach that doesn't just dwell on the revolution and what happened in the colonies, but brings that story west, which is what we know our populations are interested in. It's something that, Wisconsin was once the West, and we aren't limiting it to Western states. If anyone is interested, we can share the information about it. But I think it's an exciting project. We're also adding 150 sites to our historic register. We are adding 150 historic markers around the state, nominated by different communities. We're doing new scholarship and publications. The very first one just came out as a history of Colorado told over a couple of beers. So we are really trying to hit the broad audience there. Educational materials like you would expect. And because we're Colorado and we are organizing climbing teams to go up all of our 14,000-foot peaks on the 4th of July in 2026. And plant an American flag. Those are some of the big initiatives that we have. But another big initiative that we have, and one that I recommend to everyone, is partnering with the major foundations in Colorado. We have commitments from 6 foundations to distribute more than $5.5 million in support of commission goals between this year and next to support community projects and activities. This is where I say, as the commission, we can lead these efforts, but we can only do so much. And so we've had a lot of discussion around our role as the state's official commemorative commission is not to sail every ship that people are going to experience as part of the anniversary. Our goal is to summon the tide and then let everyone sail their own boat in whatever direction they want to on that tide. We are bringing a lot of awareness. We are creating conditions and a framework and bringing resources so that people can participate in this anniversary in whatever way feels right to them. And I think that's pretty important for a variety of reasons. One, because it is how we are going to make this truly broad-based. We have to leave this open for people to celebrate and commemorate in the ways that feel right to them. And in some cases, that may look like celebrations that are sort of at odds with each other. But we think the nation and the state are big enough to handle that. But also, because the way I think this is going to roll out in 2026 is we, every year, all of us go do something for the 4th of July, I would imagine. And we know that there are big fireworks over the mall in DC, big national celebration. You can watch it on TV if you want, but I would wager most of you, like me, experience the 4th of July with your friends and family and neighbors in your local community doing whatever communal activities have been arranged. And I think the 250 is by and large going to function along the same lines. It's going to have the same dynamic. It will be bigger, it will be brighter, it will be more festive perhaps, but most people are going to experience it at the local level with their friends, family, and neighbors. And that is the level that we feel as a commission we have to create conditions for success in if we are going to be successful overall as a state commission. And so that's where you see that bottom tier there of supporting Colorado communities. We have a variety of ways that we are trying to summon that tide, to create those conditions and that framework so that the communities can focus in on what they want to do. I'm going to stop screen sharing there. So we can just have a discussion. There are a variety of specifics I could get into on each of these if anyone is interested. But I wanted to open up the floor. I'm also really curious, this endeavor, I don't know what your experience has been, but our experience in Colorado has been very American in the sense that the 250 is really being organized on a state to state level and not with a lot of guidance, leadership, support from the national level. And so these conversations, having a chance to talk with you all and hear what you're doing are incredibly valuable. Like Chris was saying, being in Williamsburg and learning what is going on in other places, adapting those ideas and strategies to what we're doing is a big piece of how we've gotten to the place we are today. So with that, I'd love to just open it up to any questions, comments, concerns, or thoughts you just want to share back at me.
Thanks very much, Jason. You're absolutely right. Being able to share state to state has been, and we're all learning from each other because we're all in this together. If anybody does have any questions, I see Shannon's already got her hand up. Just put your hand up using the function on Teams, and we'll go from there. So Shannon, I'm going to let you give you the floor.
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you so much, Jason, for sharing that. I just have one comment, observation, and then just one deeper dive. So I appreciate your suggestion of engaging corporate sponsorship because I think there is a bigger tie-in. I think also we have an opportunity to leverage the relationships that we have with our larger vendors or people that we do daily business with. For example, many of the tribes in Wisconsin are some of the largest employers, and they have multiple vendors that we could engage. So I think, Chris, it would probably be conducive for us to start sort of building a list of just a marketing strategy of how we want to maybe approach that to bring in more resources and get larger buy-in. Because sometimes even corporations, if they don't want to give monetarily, they can do marketing things, they can do different things. So, I'll be really interested to explore that. But the other thing that I found very intriguing was when you talked about your passport experience. Jason, could you talk a little more about that? Because I think it's engaging. It's an interesting concept. I just went out to upstate New York for the mayor's address, his yearly address, and they did something similar. It was takeoff, and everybody was given a passport, and you were supposed to engage different areas of Yonkers and learn about their history and what things were happening. And it was really fun. I mean, even just for an isolated event. So if you don't mind sharing a little more about what that is, I would very much appreciate it. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've seen these at varying levels too, and they're always fun. That's why we wanted to do everything from the national parks passport to we have a community in southwestern Colorado, Durango, that is doing its own local passport. It sounds like just like Yonkers. What we are doing, it's a digital effort. It's being led by our tourism office, which is one of those state agency seats on the commission. And they are building the technology that is needed. It's going to operate on people's mobile devices. We've brought on United Airlines as a sponsor for that. And so one of the incentives is that people are going to be able to earn mileage or other discounts from United, which has a sort of unusually large number of airports throughout Colorado. So they want to encourage people to get out and explore as well. Yeah, essentially the way it works, and we're rolling out a soft launch in the late summer. So I'm happy to sort of keep you appraised of that. But the tourism office is taking nominations from local communities. We have our state divided into 8 regions for the purposes of the commission. So we're looking at each of those regions. We are working with the people we have on the ground in each of those regions, our advisory panel, we call it, to let us know what are the, this is sometimes, natural wonders, but also we want local businesses that have been there for generations and main streets and just a sort of really colorful cross section of everything that is exciting, makes Colorado a great place to live. I don't know where the threshold is going to be set for how many of these things you have to visit in order to win the big prizes. I keep promising, the owner of the Colorado Rockies is on our commission, so I keep promising his owner's box is one of the big prizes. He hasn't actually said he would do that yet, but I think if I say it often enough, it will happen. For people who visit, 10 or 15 or 20 of these sites. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to soft launch it. We want to see how many, there are people who will drive to the ones that are right around them, we think. But we think there are some people who are really going to make a game out of this and plan a few summer road trips to different parts of the state that they've been meaning to visit or maybe visited a long time ago and want to get back to. So Shannon, if your question was more about the nuts and bolts and logistics of how we are doing it,
It was
I can
just
connect you to those people. But
it was just to learn more, and I love the idea of the interaction. And like I said, my inflection was something very minimal when I went to upstate New York to Yonkers, well, New York. And it was really interesting, but a lot of people were really excited about it, because it was interactive, it was fun, it challenged people, and it was sort of at your own pace, because I'm just thinking out loud of things that we, Christopher and team, we have, annually that we could encourage people to go to festivals, to do different things, to encourage, cultural festivals. For example, all tribal nations in Wisconsin have an annual powwow. We can encourage the public to go and have an experience, a Native American experience. And I loved your idea of the suggestion of working with your tourism council. I'm sure, I don't know, Chris, if we've engaged Ann Sayers, but in my report, I was going to update us on NATOW. We just got a new executive director for Native American Tourism of Wisconsin, and their enjoyment to it too, to help us assist in building out some of the initiatives to celebrate Native American culture and history. So I think it's really exciting to hear those things. And as Chris had talked about, just hearing what other states are doing. And as you had said, Jason, too, I think this is a very individual thing too. I just met with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts yesterday too, because our tribe had historical relevance in Massachusetts during the Revolutionary War. So, and doing different things. So it's interesting, everybody's different take of it, but it's a very it's the melting pot of America and what that really looked at from its founding to current day. And so it'll be really interesting to see, especially now. I think we need this more than ever, is this idea that there is places of inclusion and that we want to celebrate everyone. And I think that we need to drive that home and make sure that that happens, so we create platforms that have levels of inclusion and diversity. So I'm very excited about you sharing, and it's just something I was more curious about. So I'm gonna wait and see how that rolls out. But it really has me excited about the possibility of what we could potentially do as a team here.
That's exciting to hear, and I'm certainly happy to continue the conversation or share what would be helpful. We have already seen that of the initiatives that we've announced publicly so far, this has gotten by far the most interest. So we know that people are resonating with it. Similarly, we have the idea of, we want to send people to powwows and cultural festivals that we have here in Colorado. We like that. One slide I skipped over is, our legislation here in Colorado is very explicit that our commission's charge is to uplift and celebrate, as part of the national history, the history of the Black community, the Indigenous community, Asian community, Latino community, and others who have sometimes been underrepresented. And so each of these initiatives that I laid out, they have that sort of broad lens on our shared history, which I think is what is going to make them effective next year.
Thank you for that, Jason. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here today and sharing your vision and what the work that you've all done. It sounds very exciting, and I'm looking forward to, observing and monitoring what you're doing and hearing more about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Jason? It was a great conversation. Seeing none, Jason, I think you're off the hook. I appreciate you joining us and sharing. Like I said, you've got some great stuff going on, and sounds like we'll be picking your brain for some more information. And as the passport rolls out in particular, I'd be very, keep me posted. I can share with a commission, and then it'd be good to see how that develops.
I will be happy to do that. Thank you again for the invitation, Chris, and all of you for giving me the time. I know you have a busy agenda. I just want to close by saying, sort of underlining again, as we hit the home stretch toward 2026, our observation here in Colorado is that the organizing that we can do together from state to state is actually what is going to get us over the finish line. And so in Colorado, we know, because we have these 2 anniversaries, we are lucky to have a lot of support at the state government level. And we see that as, in part, an obligation to share resources however we can, so that we can all have the 250th that we should have. But I feel like it's still a little hazy in the crystal ball. And so I want to see it come together. I appreciate working with you all, and I look forward to continuing these conversations.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
You too. Okay. Moving along to administrative updates. Christian, I'm going to look at you to jump in on some of this, and at the end, if I miss anything, feel free to jump in. I was looking back and realizing that the last time we met was in March before we had gone to Williamsburg. Yep. And so there has been a lot that has happened. And I'm just going to wrap it all into national, state, regional, all into one shot here. There's been a lot that's happened in the last few months, for sure. The Williamsburg Summit of States occurred, built on the last couple of years. You've heard us discuss them before. Reinforced kind of at the very end about the importance of what we're doing. A lot of the themes that Jason talked about at the end of just before he signed off were talked about as a group. As a matter of fact, he was part of a panel discussion, presented some things about Colorado and really kind of capstone. It's also been very interesting, and we've talked about this before, the perspectives on the 250th from different states and how there are some states, it's both in terms of your ties to the revolution. So like Massachusetts in late March was right on the cusp of Lexington and Concord, whereas for other states, it was coming later. And that's just within the 13 colonies. For other states like us that did not exist as states until well after the American Revolution, it was a very different approach and a very different kind of perspective. But also not only when you start, but when you sunset. Because for a lot of the country, July 4th, 2026 is the big, like for us. And then we sunset January 1st, 2027. There are quite a few commissions, particularly in the old 13 colonies, that are going to continue in some cases all the way to 2033 with the 250th of the end of the war. And the 250th of the end of the War of Independence. So it's very interesting to see all of that. But at the same time, that sense of unity, that sense of what Jason talked about working together as states and working with each other was reinforced extremely strongly. One of the things that also came out of that was there was some conversation about national. There's still some new organization with particularly as the National Commission working with the White House directly in terms of getting ready for the Army 250th parade, which was done a couple of weeks ago, and also starting to think about what their plans are going to be as they go into 2026. Because the National Commission is congressionally created, but the White House also has a couple of dedicated staff to America 250. And so we're seeing, they're coordinating their plans. And once they have their plans coordinated, we'll see how it plugs into what we're doing. Just like Jason said, there's a lot of states that are continuing to progress. And we're going to see what national is doing and see if we can all coordinate to some degree in terms of what we're doing as we mark these anniversaries. We haven't had a lot of regional meetings. What I call the Old Northwest Territory since Kevin Hampton left. We did talk a little bit in Williamsburg. We have had a couple of formal meetings, one or two formal gatherings since. Ohio is really leading a charge for doing some things, particularly programming and scholarly. They actually want to have a conference early next year. And I know the Historical Society has been working, the Wisconsin Historical Society has been working with them, looking at the Midwest as an entity and looking at the region and some common themes among all the states that were the old Northwest Territory and what that means. And it's a pretty good program. I'm hoping they're going to be able to release that probably in the next few months and we can share that around with people. But that's one of the biggest, I think, around the region updates that we have. Of course, from an events perspective, Two Lights for Tomorrow, huge success. I forget however many millions of impressions it had nationally. It had 4 figures, perhaps 5 figures of sites around the country. Of course, the ceremony we had, outstanding feedback, real successful. The Army birthday cake cutting as well on June 13th and 14th at the Capitol. Great feedback. Worked with the National Guard. It was really good. Teed us up as well for the Navy and the Marine Corps in October and November. As well. So, a lot of stuff going as we're getting ready to hit the ground running. I know the Historical Society is looking ahead to the school year, looking ahead to some things as well. And that's actually the perfect segue for me to get out of the way and say, Christian, what did I miss? What do you want to add? I'll give you the ball.
I think a couple of things. One is, we had Ken Burns who premiered his
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah.
American Revolutions documentary that's coming out this fall. So at the local history conference, it's going to be held at the Ho Chunk Casino up in Baraboo. That's in mid-October. I think it's October 16th, 17th, and 18th. We'll be there, but also we're doing a partnership with PBS Wisconsin, doing this Wisconsin state premiere of Ken Burns's film as part of that conference at the Al Ringling Theater in Baraboo as well. So that'll be a big event. I think PBS Wisconsin is also going to announce a series of grants that are going to be going towards local history and libraries and communities that will allow them to do programming in their community as well too. So I saw John Muskowski of PBS Wisconsin yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about it. They're not ready to announce that grant cycle yet, but that's coming very soon, and we'll let the commission know when it happens. So the idea is that to have listening sessions as well as conversations in communities, tribal nations across the state. And so PBS Wisconsin is going to be sponsoring that grant. Other things to talk about as well too. I think the remains to be seen at kind of like Jason talked about the national level. It's just to reassure everybody that the states are working together quite well, like Chris is talking about, and our program plan that we have for the state of Wisconsin, I think is still solid. And as far as other things going on, John Hall at the University of Wisconsin-Madison is pulling together a national conference as well too, since Chris was talking about like Ohio. So that's ongoing. And something after we sunsetting is the American Association of State and Local History is coming to town in Madison. And that's in the October fallish of 2027. That group represents state and local history, of course, across the United States. But even though we may be sunsetting, I think there's going to be programming that's going to be going on there as well too. So just to give you kind of a future thought of what's coming.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So yeah, as you can tell, there's a lot going on as we, we're underway. Two Lights for Tomorrow was a real effective kickoff, and we're underway. And I know that to the end of some of our state issues or some initiatives, I know, for example, Hawaii is pushing other states around the country on July 8th, 2026, which is the 250th anniversary, the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence, to have a simultaneous reading of the Declaration at various state houses. I know America's Potluck. I know Utah is pushing that. There's a couple other initiatives that people are looking at to try and bring us together as state commissions and bring us together as a nation in the process. So as those develop, we will we'll pass those along, and obviously are interested in engaging and sharing the information with those as well. So, but Two Lights for Tomorrow, Wisconsin's idea seems to have lit a nice little fuse or lit a nice little spark around the country, and has really, Wisconsin's idea has really moved some positive things in a good direction. So I think that pretty well covers it for the national updates or in the state and the regional updates. Joey, I'm looking at you, or Mindy, if I missed anything. I'm seeing, judging by the lack of reaction, I think we're good.
I just did want to mention what might be good news, the Joint Finance Committee's approval of a project position for the America 250 Commission. Finance took up our budget almost 2 weeks ago, maybe now, and the Joint Finance Committee has voted for a position that would assist and the commission, both Chris and Christian and Mindy and I. So hopefully that'll make it into the final version of the budget.
So more to follow on that for sure. Thank you, Joey. Okay, let's go on to committee reports, because I know there's some things going on with the committees, and I know there's some other stuff. From an executive committee, we didn't formally meet, so I don't I don't think we have an update to provide. Armed Services commemoration, I will mention, and then Judge Koshnick, if there's anything I missed, let me know. I've already kind of given this update already. We did the Army birthday, June 13th. It was broadcast on Wisconsin Eye. If you haven't seen the video, you can go check it out. It turned out great. It's a great ceremony. We had folks from Fort McCoy. We had folks from the Army National Guard. Quite a few Army veterans, as you can imagine, which was great. Got excellent feedback, excellent engagement. It also tees up what we're going to be doing for, like I said, the Navy on October 13th and then the Marine Corps in November. We have already been in touch. The Marines have been really proactive about their birthday. So they've already been in touch with us with the Marine Corps League and the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. They're going to pay for the cake. They're going to have all the Marine Corps League units and all the reserve units in the state have representation at the ceremony as well. So I'm going to be working with them over the next few months in terms of, getting the program set and kind of what their role is going to be and speakers and things like that. Need to start doing some work. And Judge, I need to get with you and Charlie about this is the Navy, getting in touch with some of the Navy folks, Navy League, Naval ROTC, and start planning October 13th as well. So that's on my to-do list over the next few weeks. So there'll be more to follow on that. But from the Armed Services Commemoration Committee, I think we're on track. We're off to a good start with the Army, and we're on good track with the other two as well. I don't know if you have anything to add, Judge, or if there's anything I missed.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, as far as Chris and I had talked to the Wisconsin Counties Association at their monthly meeting. It's been a month or two, and sent an email out to all of the county administrators, county board supervisors, other county officials, inviting them to contact me if they wanted to have a speaker from the judiciary, either a local judge or someone from the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court. We also gave them Wisconsin National Guard contact information if they wanted to get a speaker or other assistance with events from the National Guard or military folks, including speakers, color guards, military equipment displays. And I'm disappointed that I've received no calls for any such speeches. So I think I'm going to try to hit them again. I'm going to call the county association, see if we can do something to sort of spur more interest in that. It might be that we were too close to the military 250th birthday, which was coming up, within a month or two of that meeting. But we're also looking forward to next year with the birthday for the country. So I'm going to be working on the county association to see if we can get out that some more prods or posts to get people interested in tapping into all these resources we have available for them.
I think you're right about that. The Guard likes a 90-day request timeline. So I think that was part of it. Plus 2026, I don't know how many people were doing the planning yet for that. It still seems kind of off in the future for some folks, even though we've been thinking about it for a lot of years. So if we keep beating the drum, I think that will help.
Okay, sounds good. That's the plan.
Great. All right, business fund.
Just to report that we haven't had any activity as far as receiving any funds.
Okay. I'll assume no news is good news there. County and local government. I don't know if we have anybody here from there. Let's go on to education.
I sort of staff that committee for them, and we have not formally met. We've been trying to get some input and feedback from some of the educational groups. Haven't been very successful. We'll be working on that over the next couple months.
Sounds good. I know you have several very busy schedules to try and coordinate on that, Joey, so completely understand. So First Nations.
I just an update. We have met. We appointed some additional people to help ad hoc it. Now it is Forest County Potawatomi had a change in administration. Former Chairman Crawford is now the Undersecretary of the Department of Transportation for the federal government. And now Brooks Boyd, who is on our committee, has now become the chair. of their nation. And then we had a change in the NATAL board. Kimberly McGeejic left, but we have since recently appointed a new executive director, Paul Smith. So we are going to reconvene and re-engage and get some things going. But we had talked about several things that we could do to engage and to educate the broader community and highlight some of the wonderful areas that the First Nations bring to the state of Wisconsin historically and then from a 21st century perspective.
Great. Local historical. How about outreach?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of an update. I think it's pretty much Ann Duser and I. So I know there's a question earlier about the engagement of Secretary Sayers and the Department of Tourism. I have had conversations with the secretary and Ann, who is one of the directors there. They are willing to assist from a public relations standpoint primarily. So getting information out to the media, putting together event listings. I think our communities through the destination marketing organizations can be an asset as well. They have access to travelwisconsin.com to put in their own, if there are 250 events that are happening, they can, in their own communities, they can be a resource and get that information on travelwisconsin.com. So they're kind of in waiting mode. They'll take what information they can get. I was glad to hear there will be hopefully be a project position available to focus on that. I've gotten a few inquiries, some from vendors who want to, have you advertise on their platforms, but also from destination marketing organizations like Visit Milwaukee asked if there is what's happening at the state level because they want to try to coordinate some things in Milwaukee. So there is definitely interest on our national level, like the U.S. Travel Association is making this push for international visitors. I think the 13 colonies will probably get most of that kind of activity. But if they are coming through into the Midwest, Chicago or Minneapolis, that we could, if we have some sort of coordinated effort there, they would at least know what's going on in Wisconsin too, as they potentially travel between those two cities. So it's on a lot of radars. I would like to know, have some best practice or best contacts for the Department of Tourism so they can engage more and start their planning. And maybe it's waiting till that project position or working through, the Historical Society and military affairs at this time and Veterans Affairs.
Thanks for that. I made a note to myself while you were talking. I'm glad to hear of that interest. Christian, Joey, and I let's put our heads together on the best way to answer some of those questions and provide you the information that you need so you can move forward. And there's probably some connections with what Shannon's doing too and what she was mentioning earlier. So more will follow. More will follow on that.
Perfect.
Chris?
That sounds great.
Chris?
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, we'll do Shannon first and then we'll do Bob.
Sorry, Chris. Also, it just made me think of what we were just discussing too. We have engaged our tribal TVSO officers as well that are at each nation so that there is some direction given. So we'll make sure that as they meet pretty frequently, that they can provide some guidance and input too. So I just wanted to make mention of that we have engaged our military community through our TVSO officers initiative because it makes more sense. It's centralized. They all meet collectively, and it makes more sense that we can initiate some of their desires and inclusion that way as well.
Great. No, great. And if they have anything, happy to talk to us. Melissa Dowd knows how to find us
She
very
sure does.
easily.
And Melissa participates frequently. And so we'll make sure, as a matter of fact, I just saw Melissa, I think it was Monday at Menominee. So I'll make sure that she has inclusion and we'll centralize it through Melissa too. Cause I think the less people, the more manageable it is. If you get, 11 TVS officers, it would be like herding cats. So we'll make sure that we centralize it through Melissa. So great suggestion, Chris. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I forgot to unmute before I was talking to myself. The historical committee did have a meeting. Unfortunately, my brain does not remember what it was, and I blew up my desk, so I can't find any notes. But as a vice president general for the Great Lakes District for the Suns, I just got a communique from Michigan. They are doing a PBS special on Frontier to Freedom, Wilderness Revolution, and Michigan statehood. That might be something we want to look into for Wisconsin as a Northwest Territory. Just an idea on that, because the Sons of the American Revolution National Society has partnered with the America 250 Commission. So we're deeply embedded with them now. And on a side note, General Ammerman and I from the Suns are working with the mayor of Green Bay on doing getting the 250 set up for Green Bay. He's invited the Oneida Nation, the county exec, and he's looking at the local townships to all join in on this commission so that we can kick things off for the Green Bay area and Brown County area. And our state society has just formed a speakers bureau for us to go out and talk to the schools. And what we will do is they will come in and talk about the revolution, but we're going to make sure before they go speak that they know what they're speaking of and they don't say things that aren't historically accurate. So we've made that available because we are on the National Society and on down, we are in a social studies committee, whatever they call it.
Sounds good. I'm glad you found the unmute button, Bob. I think that takes care of the committee reports. Next commission meetings, Constitution Day, September 17th. Well, this is the only virtual one this year. We'll be back in hybrid like we have been in previous meetings before. And then, of course, November the 19th as well, 10:30 at the Veterans Museum. So, yeah. Unless there is anything else to come before the committee, the next thing on my agenda is adjournment or come before the commission.
So moved.
I have
Second.
a motion. Do I have a second?
You got it.
I got it. The chair asks unanimous consent without objection. Chair will also make the comment that I wish more people use that to speed business. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Hey,